So thank you everyone for coming, and it's nice to see some familiar names and faces from the other workshops. This is the part 2 of the TSOHAR crash courses, and last time we covered what you could do with Zoom specifically, and many of those features can be used on other platforms, virtual platforms, not all of them. But now we're going to use some applications, and these can be used with, I would believe, any platform. We're also going to look at a couple resources. You're probably familiar with them, but if you're not, then just one more tool in the toolkit, right? So somebody was asking me how they could show PowerPoint, like I'm doing, to their students. And really all I did is, just like any other application, I opened up PowerPoint. I chose to view the PowerPoint from the beginning. That's an option, you know, in that strip at the very top. And then once it's up, then I would go and share my screen, and I would click to share the whole screen, or you could click to share the application. So it's just like sharing any other screen. Now, one of the hard parts is when you're showing a PowerPoint, it takes up the whole screen, and if you're not used to navigating without seeing all the options at the bottom, it might be confusing. So what I do with a PC is I hit Alt-Tab so that I could go through the different open applications, and I can choose to come back to Zoom, and I can choose to share my screen. That's one of the confusing parts. If you're ever trying to do a Zoom meeting and you or your student clicks away from the meeting and now they can't see you, they can't see the group, or you can't see them, you're probably just looking at a different application. So to switch, you just hit Alt-Tab, hold it down, keep hitting Tab until you get to the application you want, or if you're in a Mac, it's Command-Tab. All right, so let's get started. Again, this is just about me. If you've been here before, you've seen this already, but I have experience teaching online, teaching college instructors how to teach online, and creating online resources. So if you need help with any of that, you can contact me. So what we're covering this time is, like I said, applications and websites that you could use with Zoom or other virtual platforms. And the basic topics that they cover are being able to share the students' work, assessment, and sharing ideas and discussion. While we're going through this, keep in mind the outcome alignment. You know, I'm going to show you different applications. You might think some of them look really cool and you want to use them, but think first, what is it that you're trying to accomplish, and does this really meet your need? I'm going to show you the few that I use and have used over the past, but in JedLab, for example, I've seen a few new applications and they seem to be great. One of them is Flipgrid. I'm going to show you a couple other technologies that do the same thing as, or I think they do the same things as Flipgrid from what I've seen. And I just use those because they came first and I adopted them, you know, 5-10 years ago. So that's what I'm used to. You might find something that works better for you, but make sure that it meets your needs. So think about your outcomes and think about them specifically for online. Some of you, I know you went into this thinking that you're going to get everything done that you had planned for your in-person classes, and you've taught your first time, and now you realize that this is really hard and that you might not get it all done. And that doesn't mean you weren't doing a good job either. It just means that you weren't as experienced in this technology and you didn't realize what realistic expectations are for meeting online with the students your age. So now that some of you have had some experience, you can take a step back and pick new outcomes that are practical for your purposes, and then check out the technology that will help you meet them. Just as a reminder, one of the things that I was showing you in the last workshop, if you came, was students doing activities, hands-on writing, actually writing with markers and putting them on things, or doing activities that don't involve technology, but then how do they actually share what they've done with you? So the low-tech way is they hold it up in the screen, which could work, you know. Some kids are not as steady with what they're holding. Some kids don't write in markers, so it's hard to read what they've put. The first app I'm going to show you is one of the ways that they could share pictures of things that they've done, and it'll definitely be a bit clearer. Another thing I showed you was some homework that I assigned to students where they would, you know, here I made this slide for them and they had to write a secret message using some vocabulary that we learned from a Guess Who game we played. And so here's a student's work, and I'm going to show you how they actually submitted that. Here's another slide of something I showed you last time where I shared with them the Enkelohenu, and they were coming up with hand gestures so that they could remember the meanings of the words. But again, this is something that I used another application in order to have them share their work with me. So we're going to get started with the first app, and this is called Class Dojo. And now Class Dojo, oh, another thing I meant to say is I'm showing you apps that don't take a lot of preparation on your part. So I know that there are some out there where you could create your own Haggadah. I saw that out there. That looked pretty cool. But I'm assuming you guys are a little overwhelmed right now and you're trying to just get stuff that's ready to go. So Class Dojo, the only preparation you really need here is you need to put the students' names into a class and invite the parents. That's the kind of work that you need to do ahead of time. So you could create a new class. We'll call this TSOHAR. And this part about sharing points, you're going to see you can reward and acknowledge the students by giving them credit for having done good things in class. So that's what that's talking about. I used to use that a lot. Some of my grades really loved that, and other ones didn't care as much. So, and then here we would just add students, and you put in the first and last names. And then they each get a monster representing them. And when the students go on to their computers or their tablets and they're using the app, they could even design their own monster. They love that part. From here, you can, let's see, connect the students. So when you're in class, you would actually show them a code or a QR code so that they can connect their accounts with your account. And then from there, they'll be able to see assignments that you give them. And if you connect the parents, then here's the invite the parents button. Then they'll be able to see class stories if you want to use that feature and write them. So there are ways you could email a PDF if you click here, and the parents can get the students connected by following the instructions. Or in class, you can use a code and show the code. And then the students just type this into their account and now they're connected to the class. Okay, so what's the purpose of this app? There are a few things you could do with it. Besides taking attendance and rewarding students, here are some generic ways that you can reward students. My first few classes loved this. I'm like, oh wow, you were helping someone with their technology issues. So I would give them a little +1 here for being helpful in class, and +1 for trying hard, things like that. I'm going to take you to a class that actually existed. So you would use this for a few things: for homework, for sharing work in live and right at the moment, in real time. Like I said, acknowledging or rewarding, and then also communication with the students and with the parents if the parents log in as well. So here was the class I had. Class story is where, if you want to, I don't use this every year. It just depends if the parents have bought in and they're willing to actually go here. Each week, this year, I send my students an email telling them a summary of what we've done and the homework, because not everyone's big on technology. In a previous year, everyone was willing to go here. But anyway, so I write what we did that week and what the homework is. You could put in links, you could attach things. Here's a picture. I'm not going to expand it just because it has my students' pictures in it and I wanted to be able to make this video public, but you could expand that and see the whole picture. Here's another week, what we did in class with the picture and a link. And I was doing this on my phone. Actually, no. So you could do it on your phone or you could do it on the computer. I don't remember how I did it here, but I would take screenshots from Zoom and just add it on really easily. You could put photos, files. You could even record yourself and have a video here. You could even set up events. So there's a lot of things you could communicate in the class story to the parents. You could also send them messages directly, and this is out of your email, so it's easy. So if you will use it regularly and the parents, it's an easy way to connect with the parents and not get it mixed up with 100 other emails that might get lost. And this is the part that I use the most, is the portfolio. So students are doing handwritten work with their app on their tablet or their phone. They can take a picture. They could do this on their computer screen too, actually. There's still the option to take a picture if they don't have a tablet or phone. But they could take a picture of their work and share it with me. I could approve it, and then I could share my screen and show it to everybody in real time. So this is one way that I've been able to get the students' work. And this way, all the students can be doing something at the same time. I showed you last week people drawing on the whiteboard. You could divide the whiteboard up into sections so that different people can work on different sections. But if you have a bigger class or your students want to do bigger pictures, they could be drawing in the app and then send it to you when it's ready. So I'm just scrolling through the chat right now to see if there's anything we need to address right now. Breakout rooms are available in the free mode of Zoom. I'm not sure what you mean by the side-by-side mode. This can be used in place of Google Classroom. ClassDojo is a similar type of thing to Google Classroom. And kids can have, well, I think kids can have more than one dojo account. They could definitely have more than one class associated with them. Okay. Yeah, so for students, it's very easy. All you need is that code that I showed you to connect, unless you were talking about Kahoot in that question, which is also true. So, all right, so let's take a look at a couple other things here. So I was showing you the points. Here are the points that I've used in the past for my students. You could adjust them. And, oh wait, no, this is not the right one. Oh well, I've put read and spoken Hebrew. I've done Hebrew related skills. You can see that you could edit skills and add some. So I've done ones where students voluntarily use their Hebrew vocabulary and other things like that. There are also negative points, which I don't use, but you know, if someone is causing trouble, you could do subtracting points with that. But like I said, that's not really something I've used before. And the parents can see all of this. They can see the class stories, they can see the points, and then you could also choose a student and add a post about that specific student if you want to, talking just about her to her parents. And then also with the portfolio, you could create activities and that becomes the homework. So here's an example. This is what a student account looks like on a computer. It looks somewhat similar on an iPad or tablet or phone. And these are the assignments that I've given to the student. They can hit start to complete them. They can also just send me photos and videos, drawings and files and things like that. So I could be in the middle of class. We could be working on something. They could be drawing. They could be sticking their letters onto objects in their house, like you saw that picture earlier. And they would just hit photo and they could take a picture of it. All right, so that's ClassDojo. Were there any questions specifically about ClassDojo? You could just unmute your mic. Okay, great. So one thing that you saw in one of those class stories was you saw a, oh, does someone have a question?
I did have a question. I was just wondering, for the points with ClassDojo, do students see each other's points, or is it really they just see their own and that way it's not really a competition kind of thing?
They see their own on their app or on their tablet or their computer, but they hear a ding. So that's the one thing. If you're doing it on your phone or on your computer, and you don't have the volume off, then they'll hear the ding that you've just awarded a point. So they'll know if it wasn't awarded to them, they'll know it was awarded to someone else. But otherwise, there could be anonymity. Yeah. Or if you're showing them the screen, then they can see. Just don't show them the screen. So, any other questions about Class Dojo? Yep.
I do have a question. Is this something you would use alongside Zoom, or is this like a platform instead of Zoom?
Personally, I use it alongside Zoom. If you wanted to do asynchronous learning, which is learning not in real time, you could use this app. If you wanted to, if you didn't want to meet online and you just wanted to assign things to people and get homework, you could use this. I like it for live learning because, like I said, in some years, the students really responded well to getting those points, and they like to know, oh, I said a Hebrew word, oh, and you just gave me a point. You know, I mean, they'll just keep, the first time you do that, then they just start spewing them out. It's great. And the other thing too is I like to take screenshots while I'm teaching, and then I can send that to the parents, you know, so that's always a nice thing. And but the portfolio part, I use both for homework and live. You know, sometimes I ask them to do something for homework and submit it, and the honest truth is most of my students don't send them on time. Like, they wait until class starts and I ask them, did you send it? And then, oh yeah, I forgot. And then they take the picture right then. So most of it happens for me in class. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Sure.
Oh, hi. I was wondering, does Class Dojo tend to work well for young students such as grade 2?
I guess it depends on what you want to do with them. What grades again?
I teach 2nd grade.
2nd grade.
Yeah.
If you're doing it just to communicate things with parents and prepare them, like next week, make sure that you have your favorite stuffed animal, you know, or be in pajamas, then it can work well. For the portfolio part, that's a little tricky. The parents would have to help the students with their tablet or computer, especially if you're trying to do this without tablets. Like, one of my schools, I'm teaching virtually, the same reason all of you, just because we're not having in-person class anymore. And with those students, you know, there's a lot more technical issues than the ones that knew they were taking an online class from the beginning of the year, because they weren't planning for it. Some of them don't have tablets or iPads, you know, so if they're trying to do this on the screen, they have to be able to split their screen. There's a lot involved. It takes parents' help. Okay. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay, so let's see. Students see the points. Okay. So the next thing I'm showing you is just the resource that I was showing you in the class story, and that was from Berman House Click and Pray Free. Now, the Manish Tana is HTML5, which means if you go to this website, and I'll have the link in the notes I send you, no problem. This is just like any other website, and you'll be able to interact with it on a computer and probably on a tablet and other things. And they could click on the words and they could hear them read. It's a great resource. I love it. If you want to use any of these other ones, it can be tricky because this is made with an old technology, but I still love these resources and use them all the time. On my computer, what happens when you click on them, because they're made in Flash, is you end up having to download the file and then open the file. And so this is what it ends up looking like once you've done all that. And you could click on the words, and again, you know, you could hear them read. But not everyone can figure out how to access them. So I often take screenshots of this and then send those to the parents too. I might say, take a look at this prayer. I send them the link to Click and Pray Free, but then I also send them a screenshot of the prayer just in case. The other thing that Berman House offers that I really like is the Click and Read Free. Now, when I open it, this is what you see, this click to enable Adobe Flash Player. I don't know why this is different. It's the same technology as the other one, but for whatever reason, this one actually works on the screen. And then when I click on it, one of the letters, this one's focused on Sadi. Sorry, he's reading out loud. Okay, so now the students can practice with this with you or on their own. If it's on their own, they could click and hear things read. But I use this for playing games a lot. So I'm going to show you just really quickly what I do, because someone was asking about split screens. I'll take, sorry, Oh, huh. I can't believe I didn't have this open already. Okay, well, sometimes you forget to open an application and you end up having to do it in front of your students. It's okay. Okay, so this is a game that I made for my kids, but you could just use a graphic and that would work just as well. And the students use their annotate feature in Zoom and they can place their little characters. Or I'll give you the link and you could just use this board game that I made. But notice how I'm taking the window and I'm dragging it to one side. This is how you do it in the PC. Then it takes up half the screen. And then you click on the other application you want and it opens on the other half. So here we go. Here are my words. I'm going to do this one more time. I don't know why it always does that. Depending on the game, this is actually taking up quite a bit more room than other games, but you get the idea where you can see half of, you know, on one side of the screen, you could see one thing, on the other side, you could see the other, and then they can play. In order to move, I have them read a few words and then I can move the characters for them, or they can move them themselves. It just depends on how many kids you have and how organized you are. Not you, the class. When I have older kids, I give them remote access to my computer and I let them press the button and roll the die and move their characters and count in Hebrew. If I have younger kids or kids that are just too jittery, I don't give them remote control because then it's a bit chaotic trying to get control back and give it to the next kid. So this is one thing you could do, split screen. I suppose this isn't a great example because you can't see the whole picture, but with other things you can. Let's see, maybe if here we go. Okay, if we play with the small screen, then you could see the whole game. But there are lots of things that if you only had half a screen, you would still be able to see it very well, and you could show two applications at once. Did anybody have any questions about these Berman House resources or my resources? You don't need an account to access the Berman House resources that I've shown you here. There are other games that they have. You need either an account or you had to buy that text. And I'll have to admit, I tried a lot of those online games when I started teaching online because I was like, oh, yay, games already made. And I don't like them. They're not, I mean, they didn't really consider outcomes when they design the games. It's more like what's fun and involves Hebrew. So I wouldn't waste my time if I were you, unless you're just curious. These are the two resources that they have that are really good.
How do you get to the one where you said it's Manish Tana and you can click on the words?
Yes, so again, this will be in your notes, but this is the Click and Pray for your website. And then the one all the way to the right is the Manish Tana. And that's the one that's really good because it doesn't matter what device you're on, it should work. Okay, so those are the Berman House resources.
Stephanie?
Now we're gonna,
So when you saw that puzzle piece for the Adobe Flash, that's what comes up every time for me. What did you click on to make that go away?
Mine says click to enable Adobe Flash. So I just clicked my mouse on it and that let it go away.
It should only be so easy. Okay, thank you.
I know. I've done that before too. I mean, honestly, depending on what website you're using that uses Flash, it could say different things and you could have to do different things. Sometimes in the top right over here where the star is, sometimes I'll see a little lock depending on what kind of website it is and what the issue is. And you have to know to click unlock and it's like, I don't always look over there, you know? Okay, so this is Kahoot. Now I have a pro account, which for $3 a month, so $36 a year, I get more features than the free account. And the free account has been really good for me for a very long time. So it should be just fine. I'll show you the difference and why I got this, but anyway, this is what Kahoot looks like. And Kahoot can be used for assessment in a really fun way. So you want to test your students, play Kahoot. And some people have told me that they use it a lot in school. Not my students, all of mine love it. And they can't get enough. But some people have told me, teachers, that they try to introduce Kahoot and their students are like, oh, we do it a lot too much in school, you know. So I guess ask your students, but I have not had that yet. Every single one of my students in every class has loved it even more than me. I'm not big on things where my students are competing against each other. So that's why I didn't want to use it at first, but they are. So, and as long as you have the right attitude about it, they won't feel bad about themselves if they're not the winner, you know. So here's an example of a Kahoot that I created just to show you guys, and then we can look at some of my other Kahoots if we have time. If you have a device like a phone or a tablet or something, you can go to kahoot.it to play this. I'll show you in a moment how to get in. Or you can do the thing I just showed you of splitting your screen so that you can see us and you can see the control for a participant for Kahoot. But anyway, so there are a few different question types. And I introduced most of the ones in here. So we're gonna go to play. The only thing I don't like about Kahoot is the music. I find to be really annoying, but they let you switch what song you could put there. I'm not sharing my sound, so you don't have to suffer it, I hope. Okay, so as you can see from the instructions, go to www.kahoot.it. You could also download the app, but for the purpose of this workshop, that might take a little bit of time, so you might as well just go to the website. Now you do need to be able to see both your own screen and our screen in order for this to work. So if you are using a computer for both, like I said, make sure that they're both visible. I'm not going to wait for everybody to log in, but I will give you just a moment so that more people can try. If you write down that code, actually, I don't know if you could log in late. Once I hit start, I think that might be it. Oh yeah, I forgot. I just discovered I can mute the music. Oh. Notice that button on the top right. Took me a long time to notice that, and boy, I'm grateful for it. Okay, so that's great. So a few of you have found it. If you haven't been able to get in yet, well, you can watch and you'll get an idea of how this all works anyway. Okay, 10 more seconds, 9. Okay. So if you're not in yet, it looks like you could still join with that game pin at the bottom. So one type of question you can ask is you can ask a question and the answers can be pictures. So that's helpful. That's a new feature. You can change the amount of time given from 20 seconds to, I think, a couple minutes, depending on how hard the question is. You could see how many got it correct and how many didn't. And then you can show the, oh, if I had put a picture in the middle, that would have shown it. But you could see the answer here. And then you could see the people's points. The faster you put the correct answer, the more points you get for it. So I just chose this question. Now this is something that you get with the Pro account, so you won't get this with the regular basic account, but it does allow you to put 4 things in order, not more and not less. I don't know why. So, and you'll notice I was able to put Hebrew in there, and I'll show you a virtual keyboard that someone showed me so that you could type in Hebrew with vowels more quickly and easily. Although I'll be honest with you, what I do, I've told some of you this already, but I either go to Google Translate and put it in English and then let it give me the Hebrew and then just copy and paste from there. Or I use my cell phone keyboard, Hebrew keyboard, and I type there because I could just swipe and it goes really fast. And then I could get my words faster that way. Although the vowels still take a long time. Okay, so here you could see the percentage of people that got it right versus wrong. I don't think I had, oh yeah, the media was just that picture of the coattails. So, but here you could see the answers in order and then we could discuss them. Sorry, they heard the beep, they didn't like that. Okay. Now this is one of the pictures that my students drew for covering Shorashim. And with the Pro account that I have, I could have covered up the picture and just revealed it slowly. But since the basic account doesn't have that, I figured I'd show it to you just the way it would be for most of you. So here, what we would do then is I'd show them the picture and we would discuss it and try to figure out why that answer was correct and things of that nature. Sorry. Scooby, enough. And here another question type is true, false. So here's another picture my students drew to remember this shoresh. Okay, great. And then we could look at the picture again. We could talk about what it means. So this should give you an idea of how this works. And then at the end, the top three are acknowledged. Okay. Now, one of the best parts, the get feedback is so that students can tell you what they thought of the whole experience. Now, the best part for me are the reports. So from here, if you have a basic account, you get to see for every question who got what score. And then that way, this is your assessment and the kids don't even know they're taking a test. It's great. I've never had tests in any of my Hebrew classes, but actually I did work for one school that made me give the students a test, and that was very odd for me. So this is the kind of way I like to assess things. But like I said, I could choose the actual test or whatever, and then it'll tell you how people did. Now, I'll show you my students though, so that we're not all looking at each other's answers from this workshop. If you have the pro account, you get a really cool report. So if you don't have the pro account, then you just get to download a spreadsheet that tells you the names of all the questions and who got them right or what they put. If you have the pro account, then you get to see the accuracy level, the final score. So this student actually got kicked out in the middle and then had to come back in. So that's the same person. It tells you how many students got them correct, how long it took them to get the correct answer, other things, how they were doing as they went along. In case your lesson is scaffolded, this might actually be really helpful. And what were the difficult questions? Only 20% of the students figured out how many times the shoresh yud sadi aleph appeared in this passage. And that's a really hard one, because if you know about shorashim, you know that the yud drops a lot of times. So it's just that sadi and aleph. And this is a hard question, and the students didn't do as well with it. So, you could evaluate what you need to be working on with the students later. Are there any questions about Kahoot? I'm going to look in the chat and see if anybody put anything.
Stephanie,
Yes.
is it possible, since you've kind of already done some of this work, that you could share some of these with us so that we could not use yours, but I would have never thought about I've used Kahoot before, and some of the things you did were I even have a Kahoot Pro account too, but were very ingenious, and I never would have thought about it. And so to kind of at my own leisure scroll through some of the things you've done would give me a lot of ideas.
Yeah, I don't share them publicly because I didn't assume that anyone could really use them. They're very specific to my class, but I wouldn't mind making them public so people could see it. Yeah, sure. Let me just write that down. And you are Julie. I mean, any of you could do it, but I'll just make sure that I let Julie know once I've made that public. If anybody else wants to be able to cruise them.
Yeah, definitely. So Stephanie, it went really fast. Was that the pace that you were doing it?
So you could choose between 20 seconds and I think even longer than 2 minutes for each question. And I did it fast because we have an hour together, you know,
Right.
so I didn't want to give you forever.
Right.
But
And then
you
on
could
my,
choose to make them longer.
right, and then on the phone, you couldn't see the 4 prayers. You could only make an answer.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, so on the phone, that's why you have to be able to see both my screen and your phone or device. Because the device will just have the 4 different colors with the 4 different shapes so that you know which button is what. But you have to look on my screen in order to see what the questions are. So yes, that's always going to be the case. Now, one thing to warn you, you see this right here. Here's a prayer. I love asking the students, for example, if they learn the shoresh, I don't know, like right here, if I ask them for God's name, because this one has God's name a lot, I'll ask them, how many times did you see God's name? And I'll, you know, they'll have to come up with the number they're counting, and then we'll look at the picture in large, and then I'll use Zoom annotate feature to have them highlight all of God's names so they could see, oh, I didn't even remember that El was one of God's names, you know. They might just remember Elohe, Elohe, Eloheinu, things like that. So we could look at it together and using Zoom combined with that slide. The problem is the pictures are only so big on the screen. So notice how it has the English at the bottom here. I try to, when I do that, I try to crop only the section I need so the picture will be as big as possible and the words will be as big as possible. Just one tip I learned the hard way. Okay, so let's see. No other questions for Kahoot? All right. Let's go to the next one. So I saw a lot of talk about Flipgrid on JedLab, and I looked at it very briefly, and it looks great. So that might be something you check out, but I didn't look at it enough to actually share that with you, and I've never used it myself. What I've used that does something similar, from my understanding, is TED Ed. So you've all heard of TED Talks, I'm sure. They have this site, ed.ted.com. Again, I'll share these with you in the resources. And you could take any video available on YouTube, or you could upload your own video, I believe, I think, and then create a lesson around it. So what I did to do this very fast and easy is I used BimBam, which used to be Godcast. I used to use it when it was Godcast. And they've got tons and tons of videos, one about every Parsha and every holiday. And I decided to do one for Passover. And the best part is they do the work for you. So here's this Passover lesson guide for free. I downloaded it. And now, mind you, the language and the question types are for older kids, but I'm sure young people with younger kids, like 3rd grade, can adapt them. What you do is you create a lesson. You could search by keyword, Passover for kids, maybe. And then all the YouTube videos on that subject come up, and then you can click on one and you could watch it all the way to the end to make sure that it's exactly what you think it is. And then you could hit continue, and then it'll let you make a lesson based around it. So let me show you a lesson I've already made based on that BimBam movie. So it's this one right here. Okay, so here's the video. You put in the title. The Let's Begin section is just your introduction. So I copied that right out of that PDF document that I got from BimBam, which just talks about the 4 sons. And then these think questions. These are questions, again, that BimBam came up, but these are questions that you can ask your students, and they could be open answer. So things to think about while they're watching the film. Open answers, multiple choice. Let's see. Yeah, multiple choice and open answer. These are all open answer questions because, again, I just cheated and I grabbed it from that resource. Then after they've answered all those questions, then there was an area for digging deeper, so you could talk more fully about the meaning or other things related to that video. You could include links. So here I just put in the link for that website, but you could put links to other websites if they're relevant. And then discuss. So you could have a discussion board. So asynchronous learning, you know, not in real time. So maybe you even watch the video during class all together and have a discussion all together, and then you have follow-up questions that the students do on their own time. or this is a companion to your online classes, and this is something they do completely at home. So these are the two of the discussion questions from that resource. Now let's publish it. So I'm gonna not require them to do. You could email everybody so that they could get a copy of this, and then they'll know how to access it, or you could just copy this link and share it with them in one way or another. So I'm gonna take that link and I'm gonna put it into the chat so that all of you, if you would like to try, you could click on the link and you could see what it would look like as a participant. I'm also going to show it to you here. But as a participant, you could answer those questions and you could participate in the discussion if you want. I should have put some multiple choice so you could see that, but you get the idea of what multiple choice looks like. So here you'd watch the video and then think. You'd get to have a place to work on each of these questions. Oh, I did put a multiple choice. I forgot. Okay, so yeah, number 2 and I think number 6 are multiple choice questions. And some of them are fill in the answer. And then I get a report of everybody's participation, what answers they put, etc. So here you've got the digging deeper section and then the discussions. Any questions about this? Oh, someone was asking if you know the answer, please unmute and you could answer it for everyone. But can someone explain the difference between what you're seeing here and Flipgrid? Is anyone able to comment on that?
Stephanie,
Okay.
one thing I noticed with Flipgrid is that you can stop the video, edit the video, put commentaries or questions during the video. On this one, the questions come at the end.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, that's nice. I actually have so I do that sort of thing, but I have a paid application that I use for it called Camtasia Studio, if any of you have ever heard of that. So that's nice too. If you could write when whatever it is has been discussed, if you could put the question right after all that, and then if the students get it wrong, they know that they have to rewatch that section. So that is really nice. With this, if you wanted to use this one, you could put those questions that I did and then like here, and then you could, oh, I forgot, this is actually a feature in when you're creating the questions. You can put the time stamp for when that question was answered or discussed. I just didn't do that because I didn't watch the video for time when I was doing this, but technically it could give you a clue here that says, you know, check 1 minute 30 seconds. So it's not as sophisticated as having it in the middle of the video, but you can give a student a clue what to watch to find the answer. Thank you for sharing, Robin. Anything else about this?
Hi, I mean, I only know about Flipgrid from a workshop I attended the other day, but I think that Flipgrid, from what I understand, is students can make videos of themselves to answer questions. And then I think there's another site called Edpuzzle, which I think is the one where you can edit the videos and put questions in the middle, but not 100% sure.
Thank you. Yeah, I saw some information about that one on JedLab too. Yeah, for me, when I want students to create a video, I have them use Class Dojo. So I haven't needed that, but that sounds really great. So that would be one that you probably want to look into also. And like I said, so TED Ed, especially if you combine it with Bim Bam or something that already has resources, it doesn't have to be a lot of work to create this. This took me just a few minutes, but I didn't have to come up with all these questions myself and all this
Stephanie,
content,
when I clicked on the link in chat, I lost, I think I lost the screen from Zoom. All I see is 4 tiles of 4 people. How do I get back there?
4 tiles of 4 people. So you could see 4 of us?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Well, I'm sharing my screen, so you can usually only see maybe 6 people.
I don't see your screen. That's what I don't see.
Oh, okay. So this is what I was saying might happen to your students too. So just be aware, if you are in a PC and you can't see our Zoom group anymore because you open a file, you could hit Alt-Tab, hold down Alt and keep hitting Tab until you get back to Zoom.
Okay, so I'm on a Mac, I'll hit Command-Tab.
Command-Tab for a Mac. And if it's a tablet, I think you just swipe up with all your fingers and then it shows you all the different applications you have open. And then you just swipe over to the application you need. I think that's how that works. Okay, so let's see. So TED Ed is separate from Zoom, but it's something that just like I'm showing you my screen, you could show your screen in Zoom if you wanted to do it as a group, or just like I shared the link with you in Zoom, you could share the link with your students. They can click on it and they could do these things, you know, in real time. You might want to show the video to everybody if you're going to do this in person. I mean, in person, virtually. You could show the video on your screen to everyone, and then they can use that link to click and then fill out the answers to everything and the discussion, etc. I'm not aware of a cost to BIMBOM. I think that's completely free, and TED Ed is also completely free. Okay, so the next resource, you could also just find videos on YouTube, you know, for Jewish study, tefillah, etc. Here are videos I've made that are public that you can use. So for my public list of Shiur B'Internet, I've got prayers that I've sang for the students so that they know how to sing them themselves. And I have another list for trope, so you can use mine. There are other people's out there that you could also use, and it's nice if you find a group of prayers like this. I don't have all the prayers, but there's some people who really like put out all of them there, and it's nice if there's some consistency and that people see the same faces, etc. Okay, so the next one is Nearpod. Now Nearpod is what I used to use before Kahoot, because I really have a thing about students competing. I'm not a huge fan. I'd rather have all the students, the whole class, be one team than have students competing against each other. But, you know, I listen to my students and they really like Kahoot. So that's why I went with that. But Nearpod is really great because you can create a PowerPoint in Google Slides or in PowerPoint and then upload it here, and it becomes a presentation of sorts that they could view on their own devices at your pace. If you pay for the higher level, I guess the gold level, then you can give them homework that they could do on their own time. And I use that a lot. So I'm going to show you some of that. But first I'll show you the things that come with the free account. So we're going to look at Padlet too before the end of the class here. But in case we don't, there's also something called Collaborate here, where you can use it like a Padlet board. So if you want to go to join.nearpod.com, or if you have the Nearpod app, but obviously this is faster right now, join.nearpod.com, and then you put in this code, then you could be a participant. And let's see. So once I'm going to put join.nearpod.com into the chat so I can move on to the next screen. And code. Okay. But as you can see, you could email it, link, you know, all that sort of stuff. This works directly with Google Classroom, in case you have that. Okay, do you want to approve student comments before they're posted? No, but you might. So this was something I did with my students at one point, a lesson. So you could share your thoughts here, and then they'll go up just sort of like in columns. I think it's in columns, maybe it's in rows. But it's a little limited. It's not like you could just drag your notes in any direction. Okay, great. So you could see, and then people can click the heart, you know, to say that they really like that comment. And if you'll notice here, you could attach a photo if you wanted to. So you could search Google for an image, or you could pick a picture from your computer. Okay, so you get the idea of how this works. So I'm going to quit this one and then show you. I had more boards, but for the students. And now I'll just show you a couple others that, so you know what you could do with this. Okay, so here's the new code. Putting it in the chat. Again, that's the join.nearpod.com. And now this is what my screen looks like. So in this case, all that matters is what the student sees on their own device. You don't have to be showing them this board. In fact, you probably shouldn't show them this board, because then they'll get to see everyone's work and maybe you don't want them to see everyone's work. So I'm sharing the screen with you because you're learning about this, but generally I don't share the screen with my students. However, I can still share with my students. So here, Ariel is working. Once I can click on hers and see it larger, and then once she's done, I can actually share it, or if someone else is done, I can share it with the entire class. So here, one that's submitted. I can share this with everybody, and now all of you should be able to see this on your screen. Can you see it on your screen? Okay, good. And then later I can get copies of all of this so I can review it at another time. Now, when I'm ready to move on, that's when we move on. So you don't have to worry about students lagging behind, because, you know, as soon as I'm ready to go, I go to the next slide and then it changes on your screen. And then here I would do some speaking, and then you could write down what you hear. So let's just say Hebrew word Shoshana, and then you could try writing it. And if you're on a computer, it'd be pretty hard. You're using your finger on the touchpad or a mouse. Mouse is a lot harder than the touchpad. But you know, you can, if your students have a tablet, that would be great. A phone is a little tricky because the writing area is just so small. So it depends on what you're trying to do. If you know your students really only have phones or computers and not tablets for using Nearpod, consider that when you decide on the activities you're going to make. So I could pick one to share. Oh, here's the correct answer. And now we could discuss it. Okay, so I had a few more of those. And then here's one where you could color this in. So you could give that a shot. And as soon as someone submits, I'll share it with you. So we've done this before where the students are learning about their vowels using colors. I want to say I got this from the Institute of Southern Jewish Life, but you might be able to just find it on Google. Okay, so here's one person's work sharing with you, and now we can move on. Here you could color the vowels according to their sound. So there are lots of ways to use this interactively. And I'm sharing some of your work, so some of you are getting acknowledged that way, but everyone's having a chance to participate. And if you weren't all on mute, you could be talking about it and saying, oh, I don't remember this, and someone could tell you the answer, and you're collaborating. It's great. All right, well, I'm gonna stop this now because you guys get the point. As you noticed, it said you could resume the session later. So if you end your class and you didn't get through the whole thing, you could resume it the following week. I'll show you really fast just one of homework. Now I don't have the gold account anymore, so I can't assign this as homework, but I initially created it as homework. I'm just going to show it to you. So here we're talking about what Ashrei means. You can choose to show the video on this device only or on everyone's device. So this is me chanting it for them. Again, this was homework. And then here's Aim Kiloheinu. This is me chanting it for them. And then here they're given the chance to read a secret message that another student had written in the previous homework assignment. So they submitted that, and I liked it, and I shared it in this new homework assignment. One more, and then great job. So different ways you could use Nearpod, and this is one of those applications that's letting you use their application for free for the rest of the year. Now, someone was asking about Jewish Interactive. This is JITAP, and if you're looking for pre-made content, this can be really great depending on what you're looking for. I love these where it helps the students learn the difference between letters that look similar, these little video stories. These I was looking at, I really wanted memory games to replace ones that they used to have online that the technology is too old, but it doesn't have the writing, only listening. So maybe that works for you, but for me, I wanted students to read. And here's just an example. They have little stories for each letter. And then here they have a puzzle related to it, reading, a song, all sorts of things. So you should check that out if you haven't done it before. So some of you are interested in Padlet, and I know there was a workshop where people discussed Padlet, so we're not going to spend much time with it. But Padlet is a board, you know, where everyone could put their notes. And I'm going to share with you a link. But what I've done with it here is I've turned it into a four corners game. So I don't know if you play this in the chat, there's a link to this. I don't know if you've played this in class before, but what I like to do is, so the story of Passover, I'll say part of the story, like, you know, this person ran away after he was, you know, he beat up he beat up one of Pharaoh's slave drivers, and he was scared and then ran away, you know, and then people could put their names or a note next to the character that they think did that. And so it's kind of like they're running to the four corners of the classroom. You know, people have used four corners too to express their ideas, about something, you know, which do you feel that this was a good idea or a bad idea, or you're not sure, and they run to the different corners depending on their opinion. I did this for Purim with my kids, where it's like, you know, this was a queen of Persia, and then they have to run to the corner for Esther or Vashti, depending, you know, either one was correct answer. So you can do that as well by putting your little notes next to each of those names. So Rachel, what's overcapacity? This, you can't access this? Was that the problem?
Yeah, when I clicked on it, it said Padlet is over capacity and try again in 1 or 2 minutes. And then I just tried clicking on it again and it's just like not loading. So I'm wondering, oh, and now it is. So,
you know, probably a lot of people using these applications more than they're used to with all the virtual stuff going on. So right. Yeah, but you saw it. So it looks like it does technically work.
Is there a limit on like the number of people you can have on this?
I don't think there's a limit to the number of people, but there's a limit for the free account to like 8 or 9 boards.
Oh, okay.
So sure. And you can, you could do a line, you know, have people vote by line 1 to 10, and have students put what they feel about something on that Likert scale, you know, using, these are almost like representing them, these little notes in a way. So aside from just posting your ideas, this is one way you could use Padlet that maybe other people haven't shared with you. Someone asked me to go over Answer Garden, and Answer Garden is, it's a pretty simple app. You don't even need an account. You just type a question, and then you can create a word cloud. And let me share the link with you to this one. You get an email that gives you the access. Okay. Oh. Okay. Well, I would have to share this email with you, but you know, I could send you a copy, and then you could put in a word that of something that's important to you. And then everyone would submit theirs, and they'll, oopsies. Okay, well, anyway, everyone would put theirs in, and then words that are selected more often would be larger, and it creates a word cloud. We're at time, so I'm gonna say thank you for coming. I'll show one more, but I know some of you have to leave. And if you have any additional questions, feel free to contact me. Within the next day, I'll put the video up and I'll send you the notes. So this last one I'm showing you is Mindomo, and it creates idea webs, and you get 3 mind maps. And so here's just one that I used with a student I was tutoring. You could also create very simple ones like I was showing you in the other workshop, where you just draw circles on the Zoom whiteboard. But if you wanted to do something a little bit more in depth, and this is something students could come back to on their own time, and they could even collaborate with each other, then you could use this. So this student wasn't familiar with all the Bible stories, so I told her to find a picture and find information about each character and then connect them to in how they were related. So here you can see, here's Sarah, and she found information about Sarah online. You can associate a website with them. She associated a video. And I'm going to show you one other. Oops. And here's one we were making together. The 3 lines on the side mean that there's writing about it. So these are characteristics of these characters. And you could add notes, hyperlinks, and attachments, images, icons, videos, audio and recordings, and bookmarks. So this one, I found this pretty helpful, at least with tutoring. I haven't used it with a full-size class. And lastly, I'll share this link for you, but this is a virtual keyboard in Hebrew, so that if you do need to type something out, you can do it more easily. Are there any other questions?
Stephanie, when you use breakout rooms, is there a way that you can have, like I tried breakout rooms for the first time Sunday, but is there a way I could have the discussion question when they get to the room, like featured?
No, and I've asked them about that, and they said, oh, that's a great feature. We'll consider it for a future. I mean, that was months ago, so I don't know. But what I've had to do is I put an attachment in the chat that has whatever graphic or whatever it is I want them to discuss or look at. And then they have to download it before they go into their breakout rooms. Because once they go in the breakout room, it's like a fresh room. There's no chat in there anymore. So they have to download it. And then once they're in the breakout room, the person who's able to find that file saved on their computer opens it and shares their screen. That has been a little tricky. I end up visiting each room, and more than half the time I have to help them, find something. Yeah, I wish that part was easier. Lori?
So I do have a Hebrew keyboard, but I can't actually see the keyboard when I'm typing, so I have to look at my phone to see which letters might correspond.
That's what I do too.
It's a little cumbersome. Is there a template or something that you can print out or lay on top of your keyboard? Or
I know that they
Chrome
sell
has
those
something.
stickers.
Oh, stickers. Oh, where would I get those?
I'm not sure exactly. I've seen them at like Jewish, expos, teaching expos, and I bet you could find them online on eBay.
Julie,
or
what
something.
do you have?
So long ago, far away, I actually got a USB keyboard that has Hebrew on it.
Oh, nice.
And so I had to pull it out of like storage for like now, but it really helps a lot.
Yeah, that I have that same issue, and that's why I have this website, because I started taking classes and trying to type on the keyboard without having this there. It's awful. So yeah, you could just but
so what's that one? Gate to Hebrew, you said, is easier?
gatetohome.com/Hebrew-keyboard. Yeah, I'll share this with you. But if you could print those out and stick them onto your keys or buy those stickers, that would be easiest. Any other questions? Okay, well, thank you so much for coming. I hope this was helpful.
Thank
If you have any
you.
other questions about these apps.
And you're going to share the Kahoots that you've created?
Yeah, so what I'll do is I'll make them public, and then I've never done that before, so I'm not exactly sure how you find them, but I know that when you go to Kahoot and you click on Discover, let me share my screen.
I think you can share like your username or whatever that you create them under, and I think we would be able to find them that way. Like once you make them public, we can search for you as an author.
Oh, okay, great, thank you. So yeah, you could search for me. Discover is where you find things that are already created. So we'll see how that goes. And if anybody has trouble and then someone knows the answer, please, we'll just share our information. Let's see, was there anything else that you guys wanted me to share with you? I'll share the link to those YouTube videos in case you could use them. Easier than having to make your own if they exist. And
then Answer Garden is real time?
Yeah, Answer Garden is real time.
Great, thanks so much.
You're welcome.
I just jumped on Amazon and they have Hebrew keyboards.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So there you go.
Like a plug-in, like a USB.
They had like an overlay. I just glanced at it quickly so I could get back to everybody. They have like an overlay, but they also have like a regular, like what I showed that I have. So they do. I didn't look at prices or anything because I wanted to get back to everybody, but they do have it on Amazon.
Thank you so much, Julie.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everybody.
We're all in this together.
Stephanie. Questions?
Yeah.
Steph, I have given your email to all of my teachers. I don't have that many, but I hope you're prepared and you don't mind, because I feel like this 1 hour, these 2 1-hour conferences are better than I could ever provide. Just tell me that that's still okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Share my info and we'll see what we could do to help.
Thank you. Well, I'm very grateful that you're sharing all this. I can't quite believe the level of generosity, but thank you. It's amazing. Very helpful.
You're welcome. You're welcome, all of you. Thank you, Beth. Sharon, did you have a question?
Yes, I have a question about the break-in room. So if we are 2 teachers that we are doing like 15 minutes one group and 15 minutes other group, and then we switch. So can we do 2 rooms and we can both be host and to change? Is it?
Yes, absolutely. Make sure that you're listed as an alternative host, or, one of you is the main host. And then if they've listed the other person as the alternative host, then you could both be hosts. Otherwise, if they didn't list you as an alternative host, then when you are the host, you can go in under Manage Participants, assuming there are settings in Zoom. So if it's not set up this way, then they have to go in and look. But you can go click on someone's name under More, and you can click, actually it says Make Host. So then you would be giving up your power. So no, you have to use the alternative host feature. Make sure that the second person's name is listed, and then you can both be hosts in those separate rooms.
Okay.
And then that also means you can each leave your rooms without them being disturbed, and you can switch which room you're in, and you don't have to make the rooms all over again.
Okay. And another thing, I saw that when you schedule the meeting, so you can do break room to assign the people before.
Yeah, and there's if you don't know how to do that, there are definitely some there's information on Zoom. I'm going to share how to allow people to raise their hands. There's a whole sheet about that, but if you click on that, you'll see the list of all other tutorials. So
okay, thank you very much. You're amazing.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
Hi. I was wondering, could you just clarify a little bit about how, if you want students to be doing something in an app, like where you send them a link to a different site, like Nearpod or Kahoot, and they're also screen sharing, like if they have a computer, they can have like 2 windows and they can be doing both, but if they have an iPad or a phone, they would need 2 devices. Is that correct?
Oh, I see. So if they're only using a tablet to connect to the meeting, then how would they do? That's a good point. I think they do need 2 devices.
Okay.
Because I'm not aware of that split screen option. Well, it wouldn't work with the phone because it's just too small if they, even if they could split screen. So yeah, they would need another device.
Okay, but if they have like a laptop, they should be able to do like the Kahoot, like their personal Kahoot screen and the main screen. Okay.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think if iPad can do 2, but
I think it does, but I don't know for sure.
I think there's, if you have the really big one, I can't remember what it's called. One of the ones that came out in the past couple of years, you could do split screen. Otherwise, I'm not sure. There might be an app that you could download, but that's beyond my knowledge. I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Anyone else? Okay, well, thanks so much for being here. Let me know if you need anything else. Like I said, I'll send you the resources afterwards. And this is going to be a public video, so you could just forward it to people. You don't need to send their email address to me if you want them to have it. All right, and let's see.
Very much. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're
Bye.
welcome. Take care, everyone.
Thanks.